Welcome back to Week 14, Rust Belt Sports Podcast.
Yep.
Back from the little bye week we had to take there.
Back from you being out of state.
Yeah, I got to visit the stadium where we lost. I flicked them off for everyone in the fan base.
All I got to say for all of us fellow Browns fans out there, came all the way out to Denver just to say, fuck you, Denver, or we'll come back for you. You won this time, but Russ ain't gonna be riding on us next time, baby. Stadium's kind of trashy looking anyways. It'll take first energy.
Got my words out to him.
Good stuff.
Kind of wish I was there for the game, but didn't line up.
Yeah, honestly, I don't think that's a game you would have won.
Yeah, no, I mean, it wasn't that great. But it feels good to be back.
Yeah, absolutely. Nothing better than Ohio.
And also, speaking, great week to be back watching Browns football because what a killer game.
Yeah, I'm so sorry. He just dropped the ball and fumbled it. I'm sorry. We're watching the Chiefs-Bills game. I was just taken aback. I'm sorry. Yeah.
All good. All good.
Yeah.
Getting distracted already.
This Browns-Jaguars game, you know what? After hearing that Trevor Lawrence was out with a mid-ankle sprain.
High ankle sprain.
Yeah, they said mid during the game, and I was pretty confused. But you didn't think he'd be able to come in, and he didn't play like he was Trevor Lawrence.
No, definitely did not.
I mean, is that him being injured, or is that the Browns
being the Browns?
Yeah, may the Schwartz be with you.
Right?
I mean, the Browns were electric today with picks alone.
I mean, honestly, though, the whole team, the picks were crazy. Our battle was crazy.
Yeah, very, very crazy.
I mean, I just don't understand. Sorry, there's a random ad playing in our lane.
Yeah.
I don't get where it came from. I'm not arguing by any means. Trevor Lawrence handed us a lot of those.
Yeah, he did. He took a lot of shots. You know what? They still got that run defense, though.
That run defense, yeah.
Yeah, that Jacksonville run defense is horrifying.
Yeah.
When you're on the other side of it. Jerome Ford and Kareem Hunt could really do nothing. Honestly, the only plays where I remember a run game doing well is those fourth down conversions with Hunt and DTR.
Yeah, the DTR setup was kind of cool.
Yeah, the dual wielding quarterback. You got that tried and true Joe Flacco and that young buck and DTR coming out, slinging and running.
Yeah,
you can tell they're happy with what they're doing. And my God. Joe Flacco, a.k.a. Mr. Play Action himself.
Yeah, dude. I mean, honestly, let's get started here. If you haven't heard, they're already announced Joe Flacco will be starting for the remainder of the season for the Cleveland Browns.
Guess who's back?
Dude, I can't believe that Joe Flacco, a guy who perennially whooped us in football. We hated Joe Flacco as a fan base. Not as much as Big Ben.
No, not as much as Big Ben.
But he was up there
at all.
Absolutely. I have no hard feelings against him now.
Honestly, no, you know what? I get the hype now.
Who would have thought that the guy who went to, two different teams, went to the Broncos and then he went to the Jets. Yeah. And he was horrible for the Jets.
Except in that one game against us.
Yeah, and which is ironic.
Yeah, which is ironic because, that's the game where Kev said, I want him.
Yeah, and maybe that was it, they saw him back then, maybe that guy might be a good...
I think maybe he could still... Get in that kitchen and cook.
I guess the secret is you just got to take 6 months off, 8 months off, sit on the sidelines.
You just got to go to your parents' house, watch the game, get a little sad, and start to miss the game a bit. Be like, I could still be out there.
Yeah, and here we are.
Yeah,
I mean,
Joe Flacco was sitting down, and his nephew ran in. And he's like, "Hey, how much you want to bet me I can throw a football over them there mountains?"
Watch his drive. I mean, let's look at a stat line here for Joe Flacco. I mean, honestly, we threw 45 times, which is crazy.
That's crazy.
26 for 45, 311 yards, 3 touchdowns. The one interception, which was kind of odd, it was a blown play because it was almost like the NBA was out there setting picks. I mean, our wide receiver wasn't in the area they were supposed to be in.
Yeah, not at all.
I mean, honestly... The fact that they said he had 200-something yards for the first half, which is, for the Browns, is crazy.
That's crazy.
We don't get that normally.
We do not.
311 yards for the total game. I don't remember when the last time we had 300 passing yards was.
Baker.
Baker, right? I
mean, Baker, but that's at 2020.
Maybe
Baker.
Last year, Jacoby maybe had a game where we had 300, but I don't remember.
I mean, he must have. He and Amari Cooper had a 1,000-yard season, so he must have done something.
It's been so long, and it's nice to see it. And I'm glad Joe's the way he is.
Yeah,
I mean,
Flacco.
Just looking at the offense with it, I mean, if we would have had any other quarterback on our team, we know that we have to run to succeed with them, and the defense has to hold them to 15 points, something like that. With Joe, we had a high-scoring game.
Yep.
We stayed in the game the whole time because of our defense still.
Yep, the ball was very well spread out among the receivers.
I mean, it was just great to see. And last week, and not that we could talk about, my biggest flack was, obviously he was still getting comfortable in the system.
Absolutely.
But I said, wow, all right, David Njoku, he's had some bad weeks, but, what are we doing? They're not targeting him at all, really.
Yep.
Come out this week.
This first half, all Chief, all the time.
Njoku just went off. I mean, if you look at the first half of this game, it's a tight end game. Evan Ingram and David Njoku said, "Hey, watch this," and then they literally would respond to each other. No, you watch this.
Yeah. It was definitely a back and forth. It was like seeing Larry Bird in a 3-point competition. Just like, oh, you think you're gonna make it?
The crazy part is their full stat line here is Evan Ingram had 11 receptions.
Wow.
95 yards, 2 touchdowns. Right.
Good stuff.
David Njoku, 6 receptions, 91 yards, and 2 touchdowns.
Yeah. Jacksonville ain't got nothing on these Ohio boys.
So, that's the crazy
Those
part.
Stats blow Ingram out of the water.
You look at it, and it was simply based off of which tight end's making the biggest plays. And then you watch the second half, and, I wish I could have seen more Njoku in the second half.
Absolutely. But, again, we were prioritizing with him.
He did his part. Ford, he had 51 yards, which I didn't know he averaged 4.3 for the game, which is crazy to me because every run I watched him, it looked like he got nothing.
Absolutely nothing at all.
Hunt had 27. The run game needs fixed.
You know what? Again, I don't know if it's the run game needs fixed or Jacksonville does, basically all years had a top 5 run defense. And when you're looking at somebody whose backup is their starter and in the beginning of the season, we signed somebody just like a QB who wasn't even playing in the league anymore. Is that, I don't know. It's tough because I feel like I'm putting him down right there, but those 2 guys are a top 3 running back combination in the league right now for yards just in general. So again, is that our run game needs fixed, or is that Jacksonville's run defense is really that good? It's kind of both. Yeah, honestly,
I think the concern was, we've had 2 back-to-back weeks, and it might be 3. I don't remember 3 weeks ago what the run stats were.
Me neither.
But the run game's not what it was in the beginning of the season.
No, not at all.
And you can tell based off the play calling.
Yeah.
Because we never would have thrown 45 times.
No, not at all. Not at all.
Simply.
But now we're comfortable with somebody who can throw 45 times.
I think this came out of nowhere.
Absolutely. Who would have thought? And, it was nice seeing Ernest Johnson out on the field.
Yeah.
An Allen Jaguar. Should have stayed. Honestly, last year everyone was saying how good he was.
Hey, he would have had a lot of time this year to prove that again.
Yeah, we would never sign Hunt back. But you know what? Hunt's been killing it this year. So, you know what? It's just one of those things. At the end of the
day, it's an area where hopefully, we can get it fixed and get a little more return on it. But that play action, that is a deadly play action.
Deadly. Oh my goodness.
So all credit to Joe Flacco.
And absolutely credit to Joe Flacco because there was pressure coming at him in a lot.
Yeah.
He was calm, cool, and collected and literally sidestepping out of the pocket to protect the ball and get the plays off.
Yeah.
And it was just, you're watching it and you're like, I had no clue that dude could move his body faster than 3 miles per hour without getting winded and hunched.
And then I saw him doing QB sneaks.
And then I saw him looking like Aaron Rodgers out there moving out of the pocket. And you're like, what?
Who is this guy?
Wait.
Avoiding pressure. And
38 out of the league, It
was just crazy to see.
Absolutely it was.
Spreading the ball around. If I told you, 2 weeks ago that we were going to have 6 receivers with over 20 yards of receiving, would you have believed me?
I would have asked who the 6 receivers are because I didn't even know we had that many.
How about 4 over 40 yards?
Wouldn't have believed you.
2 over 50, 2 over 75.
Wouldn't believe you.
I mean, yeah, Njoku 91, Amari Cooper 77, Elijah Moore 42, David Bell, who arguably had the biggest catch in the game. That was
huge. He was wide open up the gut.
And that whole drive was kind of crazy. I mean, taking the chance on 4th and 3 to blown coverage, and he reads it for the walk-in tutty.
Perfectly. And I don't know who that linebacker was that slipped.
Oh, yeah.
Right in front of him.
Thank you, though.
Thank you, Jacksonville. Yeah. Thank you very much. That was big for us.
I mean, it was an intense game, and at the end of the day, it's a huge win. You look at who lost this week. You had the Steelers lose.
Big.
Texans lose. Big. Colts lose. It's the 3 big teams that were in it for the wild card.
Yeah, nipping at our heels.
We just gained a game on them.
Yeah, and
we are in sole possession.
You got to be happy if you're a Browns fan.
Yeah, we're in sole possession of the first wild card spot. We got a game advantage over everyone. And now what's even more crazy, we're back to the playoff system where it might be 4 AFC North teams again.
Yeah, it's kind of crazy that the other 2 wild card spots are going to the Steelers and the Bengals. I had no clue that they were both 7-6?
7-6, yeah. Well, the Bengals have this miraculous comeback with Jake Browning all of a sudden.
No, that's
the guy's
so
just
ridiculous.
looking elite out there, and
that's Joe Burrow. That's Joe Shiesty on the sidelines telling them what to do.
They made the Colts look rough. So
the first points of the Raiders Minneapolis game.
Wow, minute 57 into that, huh? Or left, I should say.
Yeah. Wow.
But overall, I mean, it was a great offensive game for us. It's an offense we haven't really seen all year.
No, absolutely not. It's the offense we were hoping we'd see with Deshaun. And honestly, with this system we have in place with Joe Flacco, as a Browns fan, you're always, every time you watch offense, you're kind of, your heart's a little sunken. Something bad's about to happen. You're on the edge of your seat. They're going to blow something, and you're going to blink, and then in the next 2 minutes, the other team's going to be up by 14.
Yeah.
And honestly, the entire day I watched Joe Flacco out there, I was pretty calm. Like the feeling in the air was, this is running the way it's supposed to be, and we're going to win.
Mind you, an hour and a half before the game, we didn't know who the QB was.
No, not at all.
I mean, there's the debate, do you go back to DTR? Do you stick with Joe Flacco? And I was on the side, why would you go back to DTR? Not knocking DTR. I think he's definitely a great option. But Joe just looked natural.
But there's just something about that Joe Flacco.
Like the Joe Flacco experience in Cleveland is going so well.
It's going nuts right now.
It's giving so much hope to what we could keep going with. This is only 2 weeks in, and we're looking like this, and that's doing it with a defense that's so beat up right now that it's not even funny.
Absolutely.
I mean, you still didn't have Denzel Ward out there.
And that's going to be pretty big. You know what? Shout out to Greg Newsome. He had his second career pick.
Yeah.
And
Delpit got his contract extension, 3 year, $36 million. I hope his injury's not a serious injury. He was taken off the field.
Yeah, that's what happens when you run into Myles Garrett.
Myles Garrett
too. Myles Garrett hurt our players.
Yeah,
today.
He was actually hurting us a little bit today. Yeah. Everyone was hitting him, and apparently he is just a brick wall out there.
Apparently if you hit him, you immediately go into the concussion protocol.
Kind of crazy. Never seen so many people go down to their own player.
Yeah. It was wild.
But, he had to talk about him a little bit. He had a pretty, not mediocre game. He had a good game, but not on the stat sheet.
That sack at the end of the game to save the 2-point conversion.
That was one of the biggest plays.
That was one of the biggest plays we could have asked for. That's why he's an X Factor superstar.
A lot, and I don't think it's going to get talked about, the amount of QB pressures he had today.
Very, very
It was a crazy not that he had the sacks to show off.
You know what? I'm going to throw this out there. It's one of those categories where Max Crosby's leading in it, and that's a lot of people's reasoning why he should be top 3 for Defensive Player of the Year. Leads in QB pressures. Well, if they're as important as you're saying, then Myles Garrett just had one hell of a game.
He had a great game. I mean, honestly, he had a lot of pressure. And to go into, not to try to dive too much into it, let's just blatantly say the officiating in this game was rough on both ends.
Yeah, a lot of missed calls, a lot of very questionable calls.
They tried to play this weird style of, hey, we're going to be really lenient.
Yeah.
We're going to let you guys... play the game
the way you want it.
But then certain calls you just look at and you go, well, wait a second. If that's what we're playing, why is that called? The Anthony Walker one was kind of...
Yeah.
I can see it, but I can't see it at the same time.
They only showed us one camera angle. They have 1 million cameras, a multi-billion-dollar industry, and you only show us the angle where the contact, you only show it where we can't see it. You only show the guy's back.
You know, the question to me is the ball where it looked placed to me wasn't really in the catchable zone, which is usually what they say.
Yep.
Because there's 2 other Browns right by that ball.
Yeah, it was.
So it was 3-man coverage, and they're blaming on Anthony Walker, who when I saw the play on the view that we saw, wasn't even looking at the wide receiver.
Not at all. Not at all. And it
was an odd call. It didn't end up costing us anything, so I'm not mad about it. I mean, it gave up the touch. You know, we ended up scoring, but it didn't cost us a game.
No,
which is the biggest thing. But there was a lot of calls.
The false start was a big one.
The false start was a weird one. You know, I know they were trying to say
Washington scored for the Jaguars on that one, second TD of the year, and it's again. The reasoning was because the guard was letting the center know that he was ready for the play or something like that, or he's checking with the center.
But I always thought no other player is allowed to move on the line.
Yeah, once the center's set, no other person's allowed to move on the line. Half our line didn't move with them because we thought it was a false start.
They're all pointing.
Score. I mean, in the end, I guess it didn't matter.
But even Myles Garrett said it.
Weird call.
Myles Garrett came out after the game and said he didn't care if he got fined. It was a travesty, is the words he used.
Yeah.
That officiating was.
It was viciously. What are the words I'm looking for? Viciously neglectful.
Something like that. It was just not. It wasn't a good officiating game.
No, it wasn't.
At the end of the day, here, I mean, and it doesn't matter.
Oh man, I hope we don't get fined.
Won. You know, if we get fined,
I hope if maybe the NFL is going to send us a letter. We both owe $25,000 after this.
Yeah. Well, good news is they don't know our names, so you know we'll leave it at that. Don't be sending it our way. Don't find us or anything.
Don't find us.
Yeah. So it was a great game, though. I mean, defensive wise, causing the turnovers, getting the interceptions.
Yeah.
To second all
that.
It's
a good unit win, I guess.
Emerson.
Yeah. You mean Emerson Island?
I think he's switching over to wide receiver next week.
Yeah,
what I was hearing.
I think I heard the same thing.
Yeah, I don't know if y'all watched his catches,
but
he was catching like dimes out there, dude.
I mean, I don't mean to blow this out of proportion for anyone, but I'm pretty sure we just had Prime Moss.
Just catching on our defensive backs out there.
Oh my goodness, bro.
I mean, even the wide receivers coach of the Browns went over to him and said, hey,
have you always been able to do this?
Yeah, like, why are you not on my side, man? Like, maybe we do a little two-way playing out here.
Oh my gosh, it's so good. It's just like that Seattle guy.
Oh, yeah, I forget his name.
I forget his name, too. He's a great player.
But like that's the crazy part is you look at that and it was amazing to see.
And you know, even the guy who came back this week, he's a rookie. I think his name starts with a W. He's a cornerback for us.
Oh,
he was in some pretty important ones as well. He was doing really well today as well.
Yeah, I mean, the people stepped up where they needed to. We didn't have Thornhill either. I didn't realize he was a healthy scratch, or not healthy scratch, but early scratch on it. So, I mean, we were missing 2 big pieces. Everyone stepped up to what they needed to, though.
You know what? Today really showed me, and I hope a lot of other people, just how important Anthony Walker
is. Anthony Walker is huge to this.
You know, he's a team captain, but it seemed like he was on every big play over the field.
The communication.
Look
out on that field when Anthony Walker's out there.
Oh,
he's pointing, he's talking, he's telling you what to do.
He's one heck of a field general.
Yeah, and it's him. And I think Ward is a big player, but I think they learned from last week. They got together and realized, hey, he's not coming back this week. We need to figure out how we can be without him.
Yep.
And they did. And
they did. And luckily we do have some depth at cornerback where you can go, all right, these guys are balling.
We still haven't given up 300 passing yards to a team this year.
No, we haven't. And we faced some really good teams.
Trevor Lawrence is a really good quarterback, and we made him look.
Yeah, I don't know what's happened the last few weeks, but the Jaguars they lead their league.
Yeah.
Or, my bad. They lead their division. They're going to the playoffs. They're a great team.
Well, they got helped out today because if they would have lost, with them losing and Colts would have won.
Oh yeah,
it would have been both teams. It would have been at 8-6.
Yeah. So thank goodness the Colts lost.
I mean, thanks goodness, but at the same time, the Colts were one of those teams I would have liked to see, making it.
You know what? The Colts they can stay home. The playoffs are for like elite teams.
That's a Cinderella story right there.
It's a Cinderella story, but this is one of those Cinderella stories where the fairy godmother picks a different girl and she has to look out the window to see the carriage, and the Colts are just sitting there.
Yeah, sitting there like hoping it's them, but it's not. It's not. Yeah. You're not going to adopt it. They're the puppy they got left there.
Yeah, you know what, James? The Colts are just going to sit there and be a mid-team for the next few years, and that's just how it's going to go.
As much as I'd like to dog our buddy James, next year I think the Colts are going to be really
good. Yeah, Anthony Richardson's a dog. We just had to throw a little heat his way.
Yeah, it's funny because I beat him last week with Jake Browning and the Bengals killing that defense that we faced.
It's so good.
And then this week he gets beat by Jake Browning. It's just the cherry on top of it all.
So good.
But, I mean, overall, this game, a great game.
Oh, D-Hop, another great
D-Hop coming in clutch again.
55 yards.
He missed that extra point last week, and everyone started, we had a comment on one of our things saying, well, he missed that extra point.
So?
It's going to happen.
It's one. All right, he's still, 28 for 31?
Yeah, I mean, the dude's elite. He leads the league in 50-yard field goals. He leads the league in the most field goal points, I do believe.
I think he's tied for second.
He might be tied for. Well, I don't know what happened this week. So,
I don't know.
This is without us looking at the stats for this league.
It seems like a very weird week right now in the NFL.
But man, what to expect coming forward? I mean, we go into facing the Bears, so I think the Bears are coming alive a little bit.
Yeah, the Bears are being sneaky.
That defense, that mid-season acquisition, wow, what a game changer in that defense for them.
I mean, to beat the Lions twice.
Yeah.
I mean, everyone's saying
you have to
Lions,
count out, come on.
Yeah, but to be fair, I mean, they only have, 4 losses so far this season? 2 of them come to the Bears. They've been able to beat everyone else.
I love the Lions, and I know we just made the videos talking about the Lions, but I think they're getting exposed a little bit.
I don't think they're getting exposed. I think that a lot of their players are just so young. They're not used to being this physical for this long into the year.
What about Jared Goff?
I'm not really sure about that.
We'll leave that for another video point.
Because I think we can make more and more iffy as of now.
We can make a whole video just on the Detroit Lions situation because I think there's some not holes but weaknesses that teams are starting to exploit from that.
Yeah, definitely.
But to get back to the Browns, we're facing the Bears next week.
Mm-hmm.
Who the Justin Fields, DJ Morris show is a great show.
Yeah, so good.
We don't have to worry too much. I mean, we got to worry about Justin Fields running. They're running backs, though. They're not that great.
Mm-hmm.
But we got a lockdown secondary. Hopefully, Ward's back for that one. So that puts us where we can lock down the secondary. So really, it's up to Justin Fields on the ground is how I see it.
Yeah,
and I know they got that D.
When you have Anthony Walker, Zadarius Smith, Okoronkwo, and Myles Garrett, those are 4 guys besides our defensive tackles that can be in on one defensive rotation and just absolutely, because it's hard to get away. Like just those 4 guys alone, not including Jock, not including Taki, not including our secondary or Juan Thornhill, who's great on run support.
Oh yeah. They're all great. They're all playing great football.
Yeah, if it's going to come down to what Justin Fields can do with his legs, it might be really tough for him.
I think so. We got some momentum going. The Rams game, you looked at it, you questioned a little bit. Can we get it back to it? That defense. And first, let's just put out there, one weakness I just see, we need to figure out the defense on the road.
Yeah, we are 6-1 right now at home and 2-5.
So
on the road.
You may have to take. My take on it is I think it's the noise factor, the communication when they're on the road. That's my kind of guess to it. Now, granted, during the road games, like last time, we didn't have Anthony Walker for the Rams, I do believe.
Yeah.
And he's a pretty important piece for that communication set.
Yeah, but for loud, we only played the Seahawks once. We never played the Chiefs. Those are 2 of the loudest stadiums.
I don't know. There's something with the road that I don't know. The jet lag getting to them or what?
It might be tiring them out. They might be more focused on traveling, getting there, and getting relaxed than they are focusing on the game plan.
Could be.
We
got to fix it though. We can't go into the playoffs.
Ooh,
with a road team, going on road teams, because we're not going to have home field advantage.
No, we are in the wild card, so we are just going to be at somebody else's front doorstep every single week in the
playoffs. I mean, let's be honest here. I mean, it's looking more and more likely. I mean, we're 8-5, right? Yeah, 8-5.
8-5.
So you look at it, you're 8-5. You're one game ahead of everyone. You got the Bears next week, who to me should be a pretty. I think we're kind of the favorites in that one. I would say.
I'd hope.
We got the Bengals one left, I think, and I know we got the Jets.
That's it.
And that's it. So you're looking at the 3 teams we got left.
No, we have 4 weeks left.
Yeah. Oh yeah, you're right. We're missing
Bears,
a team here.
Jets, Bengals. Who could it be now?
So we're going to, if I can pull up the schedule here, we are going to be facing the Bears next week.
Yep.
So that one, to me, I'm going to mark that off on my book as a win. So that puts us at 9-5.
Hopefully, yep.
Texans is, to me, going to be the hardest game. But based on this week, based on the fact that if you can lock them down on passing, which we have the defense capable of doing that.
And we have the defensive line to hold down a run game.
Yeah, I think the Texans should be a win.
Yep.
So we'll mark it down just to do a hypothetical of a record here.
Here's where it gets iffy for me.
Okay.
The Bengals.
Well, we're at the Jets first.
Oh, really? The Bengals is the last game of the year for us?
Bengals is last game of the year for us.
Okay, that's that might just be another Colts game.
The Jets game, to me, I know it sounds crazy, could go both ways. 2 killer defenses,
Killer run games.
I think the Jets could honestly be, to me, a either way.
Yeah, either way. Let's put it in the L column for right now.
I think for right now. So that puts us at
just so we're not going 3-0.
10-6.
Yep.
And then you get to the Bengals.
You know what? They're a wide receiver core, and their defense hasn't been great this year, but it can just be so shocking.
Yeah, and
Jake Browning doing so well lately?
I don't think he can hold it.
I don't know if he can hold it. I honestly do not know. But if it's a situation where we go 10-6 and we have it locked up, we do. We have the playoffs locked up, and we're standing in the way. Indianapolis just beat out Cincinnati for the playoff picture at this very moment. If we're the reason Cincinnati can or cannot make it into the playoffs, that might be a different kind of game for Cincy.
The one advantage we do have is we do tend to have fun playing with the Bengals.
We do have
now,
a lot of fun.
There's no Joey Burrow, and we love to own Joey Burrow.
We love the battle of Joe.
So I don't know if that's going to change anything. But theoretically, I don't see a reason we can't go 3-1 for the rest of the season.
Honestly, I don't either.
So
I really don't.
Best case scenario.
When you look at this as well, we're facing 2 backup QBs, and then 2 teams with a bottom 10 line in the NFL, and then 3 teams really with a bottom 15 defense. Like, it's not impossible to say we go 3-1.
Which 4-0,
4-0. That's just being a super fan.
I don't see 4-0.
That's just being a super fan.
We're gonna lose.
3-1. It's a real possibility. Worst case scenario, 2-2. But there's no way we miss the playoffs with the 10-7 record.
I think if we win 2 more, it's a pretty much lock.
Yeah.
Because based now that how it played out this week with us having a 1-game advantage, even if say the Bengals go 3-1. We're still technically, if we go 2, we're right there, and we technically have the tiebreaker based on our division play. So I think, honestly, it's hard to see, unless we have a complete implosion, I don't see it. So I definitely think...
Knock on a little of this right here.
Good choice. I mean, I think the Browns, though, it's great.
Yeah, it's a great time to be a Browns fan. And you know what? We said this after one of our losses. We've been here rooting for them when they went 0-16, 0-17.
Oh, yeah.
We've been here through all of it. We're at the point in the season where it's the first time since 92 that a team started 4 different QBs in one season and had a winning record. It was us. And I don't even think it was 92. I think it was 88
yeah,
or 89.
80 something. Well, another crazy stat is this is the first time I do believe they said the Browns and the Jaguars faced this late into the season and both had a winning record.
Yep.
That tells you something right there.
Yep. And you know what? Everyone's starting to realize that the Browns are them. And they are. And you know what? Again, you had one bad loss lately. All the teams lost. But here we are. Knowing that if we win 2 more games out of 4, the playoffs are a lock for the Dog Pound.
Yeah, I mean, not much more to say on it. Besides, Joe Flacco, thank you.
There's just something about that Joe Flacco where he can just protect the ball better than any QB that I know of.
I never thought that we would be over here rooting for Joe Flacco on the Cleveland Browns. And to say the underdog story of Joe Flacco coming back in the league.
Absolutely.
I don't know about you all, but there's just something about a guy coming out of retirement and leading a team.
Comeback player of the year?
To Joe Flacco?
To Joe Flacco?
I think it's a lock if he wins as a Super Bowl. Right?
I think it's a lock if he wins Super Bowl MVP.
I mean, there might be some new competition in that.
Oh my gosh, there might be.
He comes in, starts, that'd be 6 games he starts for us.
Yep.
And, man.
There's just something about that Joe Flacco.
Really is. It's an exciting time
to
see what's going to happen.
It's a great time to be rooting for the orange and brown.
And all again, thank you, Joe Flacco.
Thank you, Joe.
And I think that probably wraps it up today.
I got nothing else to say today.
But other than that, go Dogs.
Go Pound.